Okay, hello. So I'm here to talk a little bit about this new Overmind project. Overmind is a working title. We'll see what the final name will be, but the project has gotten to a state now where we can start to show off some stuff. So let me just get into this. I have a small demo thing here using Parcel, which just has a div for the app, and we're actually going to use TypeScript here. So this is to show you how little TypeScript you actually need to get some benefits here. And then we have our main file. Let's see. So let's just get started here. What we want to do first is to ensure that we have the latest Overmind, which is currently on next. So while we install that, we can get something on the screen. So let's see, let's import from React, and we need render from React DOM as well. And what we're going to do is render hello from React on document queries selector app, like that. So let's start it. It's running on port 3000. By the way, sorry about, I don't have a headset, I'm on vacation. So if you hear the keys, I'm sorry about that, but yeah, I think we should be good. But okay, here we are, hello from React. So what we're going to do now is rather say hello from Overmind. So to do that, we have to import the app from Overmind, and we point to React, meaning that you can import Overmind itself, but it doesn't have a connector to a specific view layer. You would have to implement that yourself. But with React, we actually have a connector. So let's go ahead there and create a new application where we give it some state, and the title should be hello from Overmind. So that's our application. So what we need to do now is to create our component. So let's call that app component, and this should be oops, we can just do this, simply say hello from component. We can do that first. Okay, app component, oops, and then we need a comma there. Let's see what it says now. Now it says hello from component. Awesome. Okay, so what we want to do now is connect our application to this component, and all we actually have to do is to say app connect to that component, and what we have available as property now is the app. When I hover this now, we can see that we have an app with a title state, which is of type string. We don't have any actions, and this reaction thing is not something I'm going to talk about now. So what we're going to do is change this to app state title. Save again, and now it says hello from Overmind. Pretty cool. So what we're going to do now is first look into how you would change the state, and then we are going to refactor a little bit, and then look into what we call effects. Okay, so Overmind has a concept called actions, but it's not like a traditional action, like just a function. It's actually a chain, which pushes you into a functional world, which has several benefits. So what we're going to do is say actions, and this function, like actions, is a function where you receive an action factory. So you return an object here which holds all the actions. So we want to change the title. That is an action, we call it, and then we can chain a mutation operator. And this mutation operator receives the state as its first, has a callback where the first argument is the state. And again here we can see that we actually have our state typed, and the reason I'm showing this is to show you that Overmind, from a TypeScript perspective, knows about everything that is typed. or it's automatically typed, and it, as we say, it infers everything. Okay, hello from mutation. So now we have our action, and actually now if we hook on an onClick here, onClick, we can point to app again, actions, and now we can see we have our change title here, and we can call that. What to take notice of here, I haven't said anything about what this component depends on, but if I click this now, you see that this mutation caused the component to re-render. And that is because Overmind automatically tracks what state you use and in an optimal way re-renders the component. Okay, but this is not really how you should write. Like now we have inlined all the code, but what you want to do is to split this up into tiny pieces. That's like how we think about functional code in general, and it makes it a lot easier to test your code, and it also makes your code composable. So we're going to refactor this a little bit. Let's create a new folder called components and a new folder called app. So let's first bring our app into app here. We have app, and what we want to export here is just the connect. So let's create a app.connect. That's enough. Cool. And then let's import. Oh, sorry, we don't need that here. Let's move our app component, and we want to import app from components app, like that. So let's create that file, index.tsx. We have to import React again. Oops, React from React, and let's paste our app. And we're going to remove this connect from here. We are going to export default app, and we are going to import our connect from app. As we exposed it here, we have connect here. Oops, like that. So we are going to connect our application down here. Our component down here instead. So let's save this, and let's save this. Not sure why. Oh, sorry, this should be named app, of course. There we go. So let's see if this still works. Didn't find the character, so components app at development temp. Did I do, maybe parcel is a little bit confused here. Let's try to restart, see what happens. You know, renaming and adding files and stuff is not, yes. So we are back, and we have everything working again. Now, what we're also going to do now is make this split it up even more. So instead of inlining the state here and the actions, we're actually going to move that into their own files. So we have state, and then we have actions. Sorry, there's a helicopter over my head there. Let's see. Let's fix the state first. We're going to import state from state. And let's say state equals that. But now we actually want to explicitly type our state, because even though it could infer that this should be a string, you have, like, for example, arrays where you want to define what should be contained inside that array, and so on and so on. So let's export a type of state where we have title string, and we're going to say that this state is of type state. So if I say number here, then TypeScript starts yelling at me. Cool. And then we're going to do the same with actions. So we are going to say import actions from actions, and then we are going to go to our actions, export default, like that. Let's save this. But what we'll notice now is that now, since it's impossible to infer this is just a function. Like Overmind doesn't know, like this has nothing to do with Overmind currently. So you don't get the state typed here at all. And you don't even know that you have a mutation method here. So what we need to do is provide some typing. So what we're going to do is import 3 different types. We're going to import t effects. Well, yeah, t effects, t action, and t connect. These are the 3 types that you need to kind of like expose to your application. So first of all, we want to export a type of effects here. We'll see later how we're going to use this. And that is t effects, where we give it a type of state. And later we are going to actually create some effects. And then we want to export type of action, where we have t action, which also has type of state, and we give it the effects. Cool. And then we are also going to export type of connect, which is going to be a t connect, which we give type of app state and type of app actions. Okay, so this is all the typing you need, and now this kind of just extends. So let's first use this now in our action. So we are going to say action here, and we're going to type our action. And now we have mutation, we have our state, and it knows it's a string. So that's all. And then we can go to our component, because here we also lost our app here. And we can bring in the connect. And we can say that this is a React stateless component where we have connect, and bippity-boppity-boo, we have our state and our actions back. So this is how you would split this up. But we are actually going to do one more thing here. We are going to move our mutation into its own file as well. So mutations, and then let's see, actions, oops. And this is going to be mutations, change title, and then import star as mutations from mutations. And then, oops, what happened there? Ooh, mutations. And we are actually going to export a named function here. Change title. What we get here is the state and state title. Now we're going to import state from our state here, so that we know that it's the correct type. Nice. I guess that's it. And now we have our mutation, and everything is good. As we can see, it says that it has the state and everything's okay. Okay, let's see if everything still works. I'll refresh and click, and everything still works. But now you're starting to see how you actually structure an Overmind application. But now we're going to turn over to some fun stuff. We are going to install the devtools. So let me open up Overmind, a new tab here in my, what's it called, terminal. And we can actually fire up the Overmind devtools by just using npx. So what you would typically do here, you would put this command inside package.json. So for example here, you could say devtools and then npx overmind devtools next, for example. And whenever you started this, it would always be the latest version of the devtools. You can, of course, also just install Overmind devtools explicitly so that you can control the version. But okay, now we have the DevTools here. Let's not refresh the app yet. What we want to do is actually connect to the DevTools. And we can do that as simple as passing a second argument to our app, saying DevTools localhost 1234, because that's the port we are on. And now we can see that the app refreshed and we have our title here. And then I can click the title and we can see that the state is updated here. But maybe more interestingly, we also see that we have an action here. So whenever you trigger actions in Overmind, you will get a complete overview of them. So in this case, we have changed title. It didn't pass in a value. Maybe we should not show undefined here, fix that later. But we can see that we did a mutation. And even if I click this mutation, we can see specifically what we did. So we did a set mutation on the title path of our state, and this is what we passed in. And we can even see that Overmind did a flush. And a flush is like saying that, okay, I have batched up some mutations now, it's time to update the application. And what I mean by update is that it tells the components any derived state, which we will look at later, and computed state, that it's time to update. So what we can see here is that the app component did a new render. So we can move over to components and we can see that we have one connected component called app, which has updated once, and it depends on the title value. And we can go to flushes, and we can see like all the flushes that has been made. And currently there's only one flush with a single mutation. And then console here just shows all the messages passed from the app to this dev tool. Okay, but let's do something here a little bit more interesting. What we want to do is create, like we're going to grab some posts from JSON placeholder, and we are going to create a file called effects. And this is just going to expose side effects. So one side effect that is exposed by Overmind is the state. It's actually a side effect, unlike other solutions. So in MobX and Redux, the state changes are actually side effects, unlike, for example, in Elm or in Cycle.js, where state is actually a value of an event. So like a button click is mapped into a state change, and then that state change is then mapped into a new UI, which is a beautiful idea, but it's not very practical when you build very complex applications. Anyways, so let's create, maybe we can call it API, and we just want to go and grab some posts. So we'll just use the fetch API here, and let's see, JSON placeholder. Let's get the URL here, JSON placeholder, and let's fetch all the posts and get the response. I want the response to be JSON, like that. Okay, now we want to import as effects from effects. So we just want to import all our effects, and let's just attach them. Now let's have a look at our action here. We have our change title action, but maybe we can create one that's called get posts. And this is going to actually map. We are going to use I'm going to inline this right now. We're going to use the API. Oops, sorry. API. Did I call it API? Action. Did I do something wrong? Oh, sorry. We didn't pass in the effects here. So type of effects. So this is the signature of the effects. I give the state and the actual effects. So let's see, API.getPosts, and we'll call that. And now this will return a promise and a value of that promise. And this is managed inside Overmind. So you just map it, and then the next operator will get that value when the promise is finished. But let us go to, let's go here, and we'll just do this very simply. Let's go to our component, and now we actually want to load the posts when the application fires up or the component mounts. So we are going to use a class here instead, and component render. Let's just render what we had here, and now our connect will be up here instead, and we will say app comes from this props. Okay, nice. And now we can say on component did mount, we can say this props app.actions get posts, and we'll call that. Okay, so now the application should have updated, I think. Let's refresh, and now we can have a look inside the devtools and see what happened here. So it triggered a get posts, which ran a map, and as we can see, it actually tracked that we were calling API get posts with no argument. This should not be undefined either. But as we can see here, we can look at the value, and we got a bunch of posts here. We can investigate everything here. Cool. And since we didn't do any mutations, it doesn't show that it actually notified anything about updates. Okay, so what we're going to do now is maybe we should just show some of these posts. So what we'll do first is actually type, let's see what these posts contain, title, body ID, and user ID. Let's drop the user ID, body ID and title. Okay, so let's export a type of post, which is title string, body string, and ID was a number. And we want our posts to be an array of posts. We have to give it an posts should be an empty array. Nice. So when we look into the devtools now, we should see that we have posts with nothing in it. Let's change that. So what we can do first of all here is that we can go to our effects, and we can actually say that import state, post from state. And then we can say that this actually returns a promise of posts. I think this should work. So that when we now go to our action and we grab our posts and we do a mutation, and again, let's just inline this, we will get state as the first argument, and we will actually get the posts as the second argument here. That's the value that's part of this, that is returned on this map and is currently part of the chain. So we want to just set the posts to posts. Oh, sorry, I did a mistake there. It's not a post, it's actually an array of posts. So now you saw TypeScript help me. Well, there wasn't actually anything wrong, but as you can see, TypeScript needs to understand how everything is connected so that it can give you valuable error messages. Okay, so let's take another look, and we can already see that we have all our posts here. And in our actions, we did a map. We now have an array of 100 posts. We did a mutation, and we set those posts. Awesome. So now it is time to actually, let's see, show these posts. So we'll do this very, very simply. Let's create a list here, and let's point to app, state, posts, map, and then we get post, and we'll create an li with, let's just put two divs in here, like h6 post, post or title h6, and then we'll just put post sorry, post.body here, and then we can use as the key, we can use post ID here. Let's save that and have a look, and here we go. We have a bunch of, oh, we should do like H4 here instead. Let's see now. Yeah, that's better. Cool. So what I thought we could do is expose like a checkbox here, so that we can kind of like say that, okay, I have read this post or not. So let's expose the checkbox first. Input type checkbox. Let's see. Oh, input should be small. It might look a little bit stupid. No, it's okay. We should have space there. Cool. And what we want to happen here is that we're going to tell it which posts we have read. So first of all, we need some state. Like there's two approaches here. We could populate the existing post state with a new isRead state, and that is perfectly okay. But sometimes it's, if we wanted to make changes to the posts, we would have to kind of like remove that information from the post when we pass it back to the server. So a different approach would be to just have, for example, an array of IDs of posts we have read. We could even use like a map, so where the key is the ID of the post, and then it will have a value of true or false. Maybe it could even be another object where we have read true and false, and we could have the date time. Like there's many ways to do this. But for the purpose of this demo, I think we can just, what should we do? Maybe we should just have an array. Yeah, let's do that. It doesn't really matter. So we can say read post IDs, like that. And then, let's see. Yeah, we can do that because we can use like compute. Yeah, that's kind of cool. We're going to test that. Read post IDs, and that should be a string. Oh, sorry, number array. Okay, so what we want to happen is whenever we click the checkbox, we want to trigger an action that actually inserts the ID of the post, or either inserts the ID or removes it, depending on it being in the array or not. Toggle read post. So that's an action. And again, I'm inlining this stuff, but you shouldn't really do this. We should actually, let's fix this right away. Let's create a new file here. I'm currently not sure what the convention should be. I'm just calling it helpers right now. And oops, what we're doing is, okay, so this is mutations set posts. So export function set posts. This is state, and then we should also bring in the post here, which is an array of posts. And now the interesting thing here is that if you haven't used TypeScript that much, now everything's okay here. But if my mutation said, no, I'm expecting a single post here, then it tells you that these don't match, because Overmind infers all of this stuff through TypeScript. Okay, but that's nice. And then we have our little helper, which we can say helpers get posts. And let's import those as well. Start as helpers from helpers. Export function get posts. This returns API get posts. And we should be all set for that. Nice, and then we have toggle read post, and we actually want to receive something here. So we can actually just type it. We can say we want a number because we want the ID to toggle, and then we'd say rotations toggle read post. So we again export function toggle read post, which grabs the state. We get the ID, which is a number, and then we can say if state read post includes ID, we want to splice state read post ID is index of ID. We want to remove it wherever it is, and if that is not the case, we just want to push it. Like, there's probably a better data structure for this, but this is what I landed on for the demo. Cool, now we have that. So when we go into our components now, we can, first of all, is it value or is it checked? I don't remember. Let's see, checked. We want this to be checked if app state read post ID includes post ID, and on change we want to let's see, app actions toggle read post post.id. Now if I didn't pass in again, TypeScript tells me if I give it the right argument. Okay, so this doesn't look, should I put in prettier here so we didn't have to format. Let's see. Okay, so this helps a little bit. Let's see. Okay, I'll refresh now and we can have a look. Now what's kind of interesting now is if I go to, oh shit. I didn't expect that, but as you can see, the devtools, shit, it shoved the menu off the screen. Okay, we'll just have to restart it. Anyways, as you can see, now the app depends on a ton of different stuff here. It depends on the posts and the title and the body of every single post. And we're going to look into how we can make this better. But first of all, let's see if I restart the devtools. Oh man, that's silly. I'll have to fix that. Maybe we can just take a few posts here. We don't need all of them. So we got our devtools back. Let's see, when we set the post, let's just take some of them. Let's just take 5 of them. That's perfectly okay. Cool. So when we now look back, should be okay now. Oh shit. Okay. Oh man, let me start it up again. I'm no designer and I hate spending time on details like that. But okay, let's not click that right now. Let's first refresh, see that we got our state, and let's click one. Okay, so it was checked. We can see that we have read posts ID of 1, and we can look at our actions, where it says toggle read post. Read post ID is 1, and it affected the app component. Okay, cool. And if I click again, it's off. We can see that it's spliced read post IDs. It passed 2 arguments. And again, it rendered the app. Awesome, so it's working. But as you saw, let's reduce it just so we can get past that silly mistake with the UI. Let's just take 1 post here, like that. And let's look at the devtools. Okay, so now we can see that this one component depends on posts. So if there's a change to the posts itself, posts, the first post, its ID, red post IDs, and the title and the body of the post. So ID, title, and body. So that means that whenever we do any change, this app will re-render. We can make that better. We can create a post tsx file, import star as React from React, and we can make a post React sfc, and we are actually going to connect this component as well, because we're going to pass it the post, which comes from our state. So we need this to be connected to track its usage, and also we want to trigger the action here. Let's see, let's import that, and this should equal app. Oh, sorry, yeah, we need app here, and we actually want to type the props here to, we want a post. We can just import that, and it should extend connect, so we have props like that. Cool. And let's export default, connect the post, and we get connect from existing declaration. Yeah, and now we just need to move some code there. All the li stuff. We're rather going to map this to a post, which still has key of post ID, and then we just pass in the post here. Let's bring in the post, and we'll return all this li stuff. Let's see, post. Oh, I'm like, now I really misprint here. Let's see. So now we have our post. We don't need a key anymore. We have our input. We check the post. We have our app. Oh, let's re-render, and let's have another. Let's refresh. Shouldn't this? Oh, there. I have to save the app. Sorry. Okay. So what do we see now? Now we actually see that we have two components. We have the app, and then we have posts, which it depends on because it iterates the posts, meaning that if the posts itself, like the array itself, is replaced, the component will re-render. It points to post.0, meaning if that is changed, it will re-render, and also it points to the ID because we use that ID as a key. But now the red posts post IDs is not what's it called? It's not part of the app anymore, and we are pointing to the title and the body only inside this component, meaning that when we now click this to check it, only the post component updates. It doesn't update the app because it doesn't need to, which is kind of cool. Okay, I guess that's it. That's what I wanted to show you. And again, yeah. So let's have a look at one last thing, which is derived and computed state. First, we are going to create a derived folder. Hei, Emma. Pappa leser inn en video. Ja, pappa leser inn en video. Ja, pappa kommer etterpå. Ja, kan pappa bare lese ferdig? Pappa er veldig, veldig snart ferdig. Ja. Ja. Pappa er veldig snart ferdig, Emma. Ja, og pappa kommer etterpå. Ja. Ja, pappa kommer etterpå. Okay. Ja, jeg er veldig lei for det, Emma, men pappa holder på å lese inn en video. Så pappa kommer etterpå. Ok? Ok? Du går til mamma, mormor og morfar, og så kommer pappa veldig snart. Ja, tusen takk, Emma. Det er veldig snilt av deg. Sorry about that. It was my not even 2-year-old daughter. This is the balance, like doing open source and family. It's very hard. It's not fun to tell your 2-year-old daughter to go out of the room because you're so excited about an open source project. Okay, let's get a look at the derived stuff. Maybe we should just do this. Yeah, let's create a derived file here. We are going to import something called derived from Overmind. And what we're going, and we also need our state here. State from state. Okay, so we are going to derive a count here. So let's call it posts count. Posts count, and this will be a derived value, which just receives the state. 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 This is going to be a little bit silly, but what we're going to do is, well, we can say red count. Well, that's a little bit silly as well, because we have the array of the red. Maybe we can say unread count, just to make this example a little bit better. So the way we do this is that we take the post's length minus the red post length, I guess. Okay, so this is the unread count, and what we're going to do is go to our state. We're going to import derived from derived, and we are going to say that unread posts count, is that what I call it? Unread posts count derived, unread count, okay, unread count. And this is going to be a number, and even though we define this as a function, it looks at the return value of that function. So we actually type it as a number, because that is what we return here. So what we're going to do now is bring back some more, where did we do that? Mutations. Let's just avoid the components tab inside the devtools. And we are going to show, let's see, that, and app.state, and we have unread count. Hei, Emma. Pappa er veldig snart ferdig. Bare gi meg litt mer tid, så kommer pappa. Ok, takk. Okay, unread count, and this should work. So let's have a look at the state now. We have unread we have unread count. Strange thing is it should actually update here in the state tree as well. I'm not sure why it doesn't do that. I have to check that. It should say 10 here as well. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to check these, and as we can see, the unread count changes because it's a derived state, meaning that it can look at, let's see here, it can look at those what's it called? Look at those, look at that state and then figure out when it needs to update. So this is pretty cool. Though what we're seeing here now is that whenever I toggle a post, it actually It actually updates all the posts, which is not really what we want. And it does that because and it does that because we're looking at red posts inside each of the components. But what's cool about this, you see it very clearly in the DevTools. So what we can do here is try to fix this. We can remove this. And then we can rather pass it in red as a boolean. Oh, sorry, red, like that. And then inside the app, we put this here instead. Because what we do now is we're already looking at the ID of the post, and we can just look at read post IDs up here instead. So if we refresh the application now, and we take a look at the state, actions, and we try to check, we still see changes, and it still renders all the posts. Why does it do that? Oh, sorry, I forgot to save it. Oh man. Okay, refresh, click it, and now we can see that it only updates the app, which is actually what we want. Why didn't it show that it updated? Ah. Okay, so I have to make a note there, because this is alpha, and the reason we don't see the post here is because the post wasn't updated directly. It was indirectly updated because it received a new prop. So in that case, it doesn't show up here, but it should. So I'll make sure that is fixed. But the point is that now only the app rendered and that single component, which is nice. And what I really meant to say here is that now we can see the unread count. The derived state also changed related to this mutation. That is the interesting part. Okay, so one last concept here is computed, and we are going to compute, I guess, if a component is checked or not. This will also be a little bit weird. Computed from Overmind, export is read. So this is a computed, and again we need the state from state, and the first thing we are going to receive here is the ID, which is a number, and then we have the state, and based on the ID and the state, we are going to say state red post includes ID. And that means that as long as the ID is the same, it will not run this stuff. It will just return the previous value. That is what the computed does. But if the red post IDs update, it will kind of like open up the computed, and the next time it gets an ID, it will rerun and calculate the value again. So we can do the same here on state. We can import computed, and then we are going to say is read, computed is read, and is read is a function that takes an ID and it returns Boolean. Okay, and again here if I say string, it yells at me. It says that there's something wrong with the isRead thing. Anyways, so inside our app now, we are going to say app state is read, and then the post ID. And then we're going to refresh here, and when we click it now, we should be able to, oh shit, that broke. Okay, let's try this once more. Maybe something broke here. Okay, so what we see here is that we actually have a limit of cache keys on which is 10, and we're showing 10. Yeah, so we should have cached all the values. Anyways, let's try to change it. And what we can see now is whenever we toggle this thing, we push to the read post IDs, and we actually update all the computeds on all these different components. Yes, because we update the computed and we rerun the component, which means that it will actually read off the new value of the computed. My point here is, this was a little bit silly example, but the point is you get a ton of information about this. And that's the really, really cool part. We get so much information. Anyways, I have to go. The little kid is giving her mother a hard time. But I hope you enjoy this, and I'm really looking forward to nailing the last few bugs and get this stuff out the door. Okay, have fun, and sorry about the mix-ups and hard cutting of the production of this video, but yeah, doesn't matter. Bye bye.